I've never found a love like this. There it is. I've never found a love like this.
Hello everybody, welcome back to E20 Zone TV. Hope you've all got over the Boxing Day massacre. To my right is Tommy, all the way from Ireland, sunny Ireland. Is it Tommy? How are you, sir? it's always raining in Ireland, it always is. How are you, Tommy, anyway?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, survived another one. So yeah, it's all over again. It's a big build up, and then it's all over so quick, and be back to normal now after this weekend. But it was good. It was good. I was able to relax, which was nice.
Yeah, listen, a bit like West Ham, big build up, and then it all falls apart right at the end. Do you know what I mean? Let's get into it, Tommy. I'm going to ask you before I go into this sort of show. I want to ask you what your thoughts were on the Arsenal game.
Just sadly predictable. I was really disappointed. I mean, I didn't really expect us to get anything at the Emirates, apart from David Moyes' horrific record in these fixtures. Arsenal are a very, very good side now. Arteta's doing a tremendous job there. They're flying at the top of the table. So under any circumstances, it was a very difficult game.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect much result-wise, but I think my hope, although it wasn't much of a hope, if I'm honest, was that Moyes would have used the 6 weeks to switch things up a little bit and give us something a little different, maybe give Arsenal something they weren't expecting, just to try and improve our fortunes, which we have to do and quickly. And so the not surprising but still disappointing thing for me is that Moyes is a one-trick pony, has no idea how to switch things around or how to do anything differently. He has this formula and he trusts it by hook or by crook. He has the players he likes and the formations he likes, and he just sticks with them by hook or by crook. He thinks tweaks are going to get us out of this, and they're not. So I was just very disappointed that it was just the same old, and 6 weeks that he had to prepare for this game, and we saw absolutely nothing.
Yeah, listen, I agree everything you said. Not only is it 6 weeks with absolutely nothing, but if you would have said to all of us West Ham fans at half time of that game you're going to be leading, I think we'd have all snapped your hand off. And if West Ham, if that was West Ham a year ago, West Ham gets something out of that game from 1-0 up. I don't think we lose the game the way we did. Obviously, second half was just a massacre, mate. We just got absolutely smashed to bits, and before we knew where we were, we was 3-1 down, and it was just a nightmare. Before we come on to sort the other the topics of conversation today, how do you sort of assess this year as a whole, though, Tommy? Because this year as a whole, we've discussed it before, and I see things on Twitter where people keep defending Moyes, and I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, how can you defend the indefensible, really, for some of the selections he's doing, the systems he's playing? And what do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, I don't understand it either. There's people that are still defending him. I mean, I don't know what they're looking at or what it is that makes them think that our form is suddenly going to turn. Given what we've just seen against Arsenal, when he had 6 weeks to prepare for an opponent, and we still come out and looked as awful as always. But this year, this calendar year, has been like this. Really, I think. I think I was guilty of this too, if I'm honest, James. I think because of what was going on in Europe, that kind of took the sting out of the results. And I think the other thing that was happening is that the teams that were going to challenge us for the top 6 were slipping up. We were getting away with our bad results. So, we'd lose, but so would Villa and so would Wolves. The teams around would keep slipping up, and we weren't being made to pay for it. We should have been punished for our poor results in the second half of last season.
Let's be honest, we should have finished 9th or 10th.
Realistically, we should have been 9th or 10th last season, but the likes of Villa and Wolves kept messing up as well, and they weren't punishing us. We were getting away with it, and that's what kept us. And Man United were in free fall. They were awful, and they were losing games, and so they weren't pulling away from us. And that's the only reason, really, we were able to scrape 7th in the end. And then, of course, we had the European run, which was fantastic, and I'm not going to knock that for a second because I loved every second of that. I thought that
Yeah.
was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, we fell short, and that was a pity. Aaron Cresswell getting sent off, obviously, was it 11 minutes in out in Frankfurt, made it incredibly difficult, given that the result in the first leg wasn't great either. So it was a pity that it finished the way it did, because I do think we had the potential to win the competition. I think we would have beaten Rangers in the final. So that kind of, and plus the fact that we had a small squad as well that were obviously tiring. Now that was partly Moyes' fault as well because of his inactivity in January. But I just think outside of the European stuff, I think just Moyes has gotten it all wrong this year, and we're basically into 2023 now. After this, we've got one game left this year, and then we're into 2023, and we're just going in the wrong direction, and there's no signs of life, unfortunately, at the moment, and it's just been incredibly disappointing in the league. We've been really, really poor. We're backsliding. Like, if you remember, James, one of the main issues we had under Pellegrini was that the players looked kind of unfit and not conditioned properly, and that they weren't covering enough ground, that they weren't running. And then the first thing Moyes did when he came in was say, right, if you don't run, you don't play, and you're going to run your asses off for this. For me, you're going to run your bollocks off. And we started to get that. And it was one of the reasons he was able to turn things around for us. But that we seem to have come completely backwards on that again.
I think I know the reason why is. I think, so maybe to be honest, it's this possession-based football he's trying to play. Like, this possession-based football that he's trying to play, and Lucas said it the other day on his channel, and he was 100% right. Like, what's Warburton done since he's been here? Like, we're supposed to be a possession-based team all of a sudden, and Moyes has never been a possession-based manager. That's the problem.
Yeah, he spoke about this evolution and that we can't keep doing what we were doing because teams have figured it out, they've sussed us out, and we've got to have a different approach coming this season. And I was looking forward to seeing what that was going to look like, because our signings seem to suggest that we were going to be a bit different. We're bringing in the likes of Cornet, who's got real pace and skill and carries an assist and a goal threat. Bringing in Paqueta, obviously, who's a kind of a ball-playing midfielder. Bringing in Scamacca, Italy's number 9. I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. It seems like Moyes does want to really kick on here and change our approach. And so I was really interested to see how he would set up going into this season, and the way he would tweak the way we've been approaching tactically, games. And then, much to my chagrin and surprise, we were seeing exactly the same thing we've been seeing the previous 2 seasons, and which was already not working for half a season. So that really surprised and disappointed me. And I think Moyes, to me, I think we can say pretty clearly now, this 16 games into the season, is it, or something? I think we can say now that Moyes is failing completely with this transition, and he's playing
relegation football at the minute. That's what he's playing. Like, when you look at West Ham, I agree with everything you just said there. You are right. When I see people defending him, I can understand the sentiment because of what he's done, but you either support him or you support West Ham United Football Club. And to me, I support West Ham United Football Club. Like, David Moyes, to me, is a manager of West Ham United, and at the minute, he's not getting the best out of West Ham United Football Club, in my opinion. Now, I said this the other day. If you go back 10 years ago, Sam Allardyce got us promoted, right, from the Championship to the Premier League, right, in his first season. Do you know what I'm saying? And no one remembers Sam Allardyce and says, "Oh, wow." No one remembers Alan Pardew, really, when he got us to the final.
I think Allardyce was quite lucky that season. I think, we scraped up under Allardyce season.
Yeah. But we got there, though. That's the thing. He got us up. He kept us in the league, and then his demise was he just fell out of favour with the fans. Do you know what I'm saying? And the fans sort of called for it, and then he was gone. But what I'm trying to say is, Moyes has done great things, but I don't think Moyes can take us up any further than he already has. Like, I don't want to be disrespectful to Moyes, but I don't think he can handle the players that he's got around him. Like, you bring Paqueta to the club, and he's a good player, Paqueta. He's not a bad player. but he looks terrible at West Ham. It just doesn't look like a Brazilian international who starts for Brazil. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I agree with everything you're saying though. Like for me, Moyes. Well, we will get onto it shortly, but there's a lot of issues there. There really is, like in house. But
we're backsliding really badly, and we have been for some time. And
yeah,
you know, if he hasn't arrested it at this point, I just have no hope that he will. Frankly,
yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Right, I thought I'd bring this one up because I know you have backed this man, and I've been against this man. But I'm actually going to agree with you on this one. I think we need him back in his team. Should Pablo Fornals return, Tommy? Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely. And I think he should return in the position he should have been in all along, which is at number 10. He should never have been out on the left wing. This is a player I feel really bad for Pablo because, you know, when he came in, now hands on heart, look, he was a very young player. He was in the Spanish under-21s. He'd only played a handful of games in La Liga, but he was a very attacking, very skillful player. I saw what he did for the Spanish under-21s when they won the Euros. He was magnificent. Didn't see much of him at club level in La Liga because there wasn't much to see. But obviously, we've all seen that one piece of skill on the dead ball line where he absolutely skinned a fullback with a brilliant piece of skill. And we all thought that was the player we were getting. But unfortunately, David Moyes had other plans for him. So he took this incredibly skillful, very promising Spanish number 10, chucked him out on the left wing, and turned what looked like a thoroughbred racehorse into a fucking cart horse.
Brilliantly put. Yeah, go on, carry on, Tommy.
It's absolutely shocking. Like that, David Moyes. It feels bad for Pablo Fornals because God bless him. I mean, his attitude is brilliant. You know, whatever you think of him, James, you know, as a player or whatever, his attitude has been top class. I mean, he never complained. Even when he's been benched and left out the team for a while, he's never complained. And when he comes on and he's been told, right, you're going to go in here, you're going to run your bollocks off, and you're going to track back, and you're going to cover the fullback, and he's done everything that's been asked of him.
I think one thing I will say, because me and you used to have backwards and forwards on American Hammers. I think it was another channels.
We had some Barneys, yeah.
Fuck yeah, we had some massive rows on this man, yeah. But one thing I will say, and this is coming from me, and you know I'm like 50-50 with him, yeah. I think we need him back in this team urgently because I think we're just missing energy. Right, we're missing something. Like I look at us, and I do agree with you. For me, when he plays on the left-hand side, I think he's pointless being there because I think he's mainly covering for Cresswell. Yeah. Because like I think as a 10, right, I think he's perfect. Or even in a 3-man midfield with take Souček out, put Fornals, Paqueta, and Rice in there. It's a 3-man midfield. Like it has to be changed up. And I do believe when he has come on recently, I'm thinking, why has it gone so wrong for him? Because he was one of Moyes' favourites. Like I was thinking, like every time West Ham played, he was on the team sheet literally all the time. And for some reason, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because
I think it's because he was taking so much flack for having so many defensive players on the pitch. I mean, you remember he was playing Pablo Fornals as like a holding winger.
Yeah,
he was playing down holding number 10, and I think he was getting so much flack for having so many defensive players on the park that he decided, you know what, I better maybe have one more attacking player on here, and so we dropped him for Benrahma. Now he eventually got to doing the right thing, which is having Benrahma on the left, but he only sees for some reason Fornals as a left-sided winger, and so. It seems to be either him or Benrahma in that position. Why he hasn't thought once, maybe just to play him before Paqueta as a number 8, maybe alongside Rice, or to play him as a number 10 behind the striker. He seems to think it's either or with him and Benny on that left-hand side. It's ridiculous.
I agree. I'm not taking anyone on today, Rescue, but I will do. Over the next sort of 24 hours. I think tomorrow night I might bring people on after the game But we'll see what happens, mate. We'll see what happens. See how we get on tomorrow night first. I agree. To sort of round this up with Pablo, I think West Ham need to change this. Like, they need to change this sort of dynamic. The way they're playing at the minute, there's a lot of in-house stuff, which I believe defensively we don't look good. Midfield, you can say about Souček. You either like Souček or you don't. I think Souček's a liability, in my opinion. And I just think Fornals needs to come in and just freshen it up. I think it's gone stale. I think the best way of summing it up, I think it's just gone absolutely stale, and I think he's needed massively. Let's get to this one. Where are we? Let's have a look. Obvious sort of question, but I might as well ask it. Is this win or bust for Moyes, in your opinion, Tommy?
It should be, but I'm not convinced that it is.
I agree.
I know there's a popular opinion out there that, or a common opinion that, if we lose this one, Moyes will get the sack. And that's possible. Yeah. It is possible that would be the last straw and he could go. But my gut feeling is it won't be, James, to be completely honest. I mean, it would make, I'll tell you what, if we lose this game to Brentford and he gets sacked, it's going to make the board look very fucking silly. Because, we had that break of 6 weeks where we broke up for the World Cup. And that was the absolute perfect opportunity for them to bring in a new manager, give him those few weeks with the squad so he could be ready when the Premier League resumed. But instead, they decided to back Moyes. That was their decision. We're backing him. For them to go and sack him after 2 games back, even if we've lost them, and they must have expected that we probably weren't going to win at Arsenal. Right? The board.
Yeah.
Must have figured, right, okay, we're not really going to hold that against him.
Yeah.
Because probably very, very few teams are going to go and win at the Emirates this season. So they probably don't even count that one against him.
Not really, no.
The clock probably only started ticking for him after the Arsenal game. It could be that the board are looking and saying, okay, let's look at these next 4 games. Do you know, we've got Brentford, we've got Leeds, we've got Everton. Is it Wolves, the other one?
I'll tell you what, the next 5. The next 5 games we've got Brentford, we've got Leeds, we've got Brentford in the Cup, we've got Wolves away, and then we've got Everton at home.
Yeah, I suspect those are the games that the board are looking at.
I think they're playing with fire. I absolutely agree with you. Do I want him to go? Yes. Do I think he'll go? I don't think GSB have got that bottle to get rid of him, mate. If I'm being honest. Because why would you? As you just said, you're right. What you just said. 6 weeks they've had time to plan. To get a new manager in, get him time on the training pitch, everything. To go and sack him after the Leeds game or the Brentford game would be unreal, because it'd be like you've got to bring another manager in, unless they've already got someone lined up. That's the only thing I can say. Unless they've got someone lined up, if he fails against Brentford, they take him out, bring him in. But it's very it's not very professional in doing that. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think GSB have got the bottle, mate. I really don't. Could GSB really sack Moyes twice? Like, get rid of him the first time, get Pellegrini, then bring him back, and then have the audacity to go and sack him again? I don't think they could, mate. They'd lose so much. Well, they've lost a lot of respect, but it'd be.
Well, I think the point could come where they've got no choice. They're just going to have to eat it.
Yeah.
Because remember, they're very likely looking to move the club on this year.
Yeah.
Rather in 2023. They do not want to be selling a championship club. There's a big difference between what you're going to get for a club that's in the championship than a club that's looking healthy in the Premier League. I think ideally they wanted to be selling a club that was in the top 10 in the Premier League and hopefully also in Europe, because then that can attract more buyers and they can get a better price. So they'll be a little bit worried too. If their aim is to sell the club, they're going to be thinking, relegation would be an absolute disaster for them financially. So I think the time will come where they will hit the panic button. But as you say, if they have to do it now, I mean, it will absolutely be an embarrassment for them, given that they backed him just before the World Cup break, and everyone will be looking and saying, what was the fucking point of that? Yeah. Just get rid of him then.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, mate. I absolutely agree. Right, I'm going to ask you a scenario, like a dream scenario, right, for you, Tommy. Yeah, right. If West Ham was to finish 16th and get to the final of the conference, is that a good season or bad?
It's a bad season.
If West Ham finish 16th though and win the conference, is that a good season?
It is if Moyes isn't doing it.
Mm.
Like if Moyes gets sacked down the line, that would be my. I assume you mean with Moyes in charge, right? So
Correct. Yeah.
I won't load the question in my favor.
Mm.
Yeah, we need a trophy and we need it bad. If you offered me
Mm.
16th and winning the Conference League right now, I would take it. Yeah, and then I would
Mm.
sack him at the end of the season.
Mm. Yeah.
To be honest, a trophy would be amazing because
It's,
we've been a very, very long time, and of course, winning the Conference League means we have a place in the Europa League for next season, the following season. So, yeah, I would take it, James. Yeah, because it's a meaningful trophy. Roma won it last season, and that trophy, if we win the Conference League, when we look back on it in time, we'll be really proud of it because I remember a time when people scoffed at the Europa League.
yeah.
People used to poo-poo it and say, it's a Mickey Mouse trophy. Who wants to win that? It's
Mm.
respected now. That Europa League trophy is really respected now. It's a really meaningful trophy. And I think the Conference League trophy will feel the same way down the line. Remember, Roma won it last season. That you could see how elated they were that they'd won a European trophy. It's a big deal anytime you win a European trophy. So I'd love to win the Conference League. I'm desperate for us to win it. So if I was offered it right now, yeah, I would take 16th and the Conference League. I would.
I think it's very black and white, isn't it? That's the problem. Like, I think what it is, I think if he wins it, then 16th can be forgiven. If he don't win it, then 16th's a nightmare. But because then you're losing.
For finishing 16th.
Yeah, yeah. And I listen, I agree on that. I really do. For me, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I don't think they've got the bottle to get rid of him. I said this the other day to the lads. I think GSB are going to see this out to the end of the season with him. They're going to leave. New owners are going to come in, and I think they will get their own manager in, and Moyes will go. Why would you bring in a new manager with a lot of wages when you can wait 6 months and get rid of him? As long as West Ham don't go down, that is the only thing I will say. Like, if West Ham was to go into a relegation battle and possibly go down, they might buckle. Then get rid of someone. But do you know what it is? Like, for me, I just think this season's been a fucking nightmare. £163 million spend, and when I look at Newcastle, and Newcastle spent the same amount of money as us, they've still got the same players that they had really last year, but they're miles ahead of us this year. And last year, I think their first win was like the back end of December. So, yeah, it's mad. It is mad.
It shows what a really good manager can do. Even though there's an Arsenal troll in the.
I don't see it, but I'm gonna let them have their moment until it all falls apart for them. I'm gonna ask you this question from John, yeah, because I like John. He's all right. What is your first choice to replace Moyes? If you could pick a manager right now, Tommy, who would you have? As in realistic.
Realistic, and I'll put my hand on my heart. I'm sorry to say, I'm getting some love from the cat here, sorry. I don't think Pochettino or Tuchel are realistic. I have to say, I don't think they'd be willing to take the job. I think realistic manager. I'd love to see someone like number one. My number one choice would probably be Vincent Kompany. I'd love to get him out of Burnley. I think he's a really good up-and-coming manager. I love the way Burnley play. He did a really good job at Anderlecht. He's doing a great job for Burnley. He's absolutely going to bring them up if he stays there. Doesn't get poached. So I think he's the kind of manager we need right now. I mean, he would command immense respect in the dressing room. And he's a young, progressive manager. We don't want another dinosaur, that's for sure. I think we need somebody like Kompany. who is willing to take on a project that he sees that has a lot of promise. He'd look at our squad and say, there's a lot of very decent players.
And he'd get a lot of respect.
Yeah,
He'd get a lot of
and he would feel like he could really do something with our squad. And like I say, he's a modern manager. He's up and coming. The only problem I see is that he may get the Belgium job. But we'll wait and see.
Would it be? I think the Belgium job might be too soon for him, but I do like their suggestion. For me, there's a few managers that I would take. I think Luis Enrique has just left Spain.
Yeah,
he's a club manager. I don't think he can go anywhere in Spain. And if someone said to me right now, would you have Luis Enrique? I would. He's a free agent. He could come in straight away. There's no compensation. I like the Sporting Lisbon manager, but it's unrealistic for me. I think he's going to go on to bigger and better things. I like company. Someone mentioned Michael Carrick, which I think's mad. He's just got the it's too soon. He's just got the borough job, and fair enough, he is doing all right. But then after that, I've seen suggestions like people like Scott Parker, Sean Dyche. I don't want to see any of them at the club. Because I just think if you want to progress, you've got to have someone who's got a winning mentality. And their mentality really is to stay in the league. Let's be honest. Yeah. Every time they manage a club, their first ambition is either to get promoted from the Championship or stay in the Prem. So, Luis Enrique.
I'll tell you what, I'd take Mancini if he was willing. I think he's a more realistic candidate. He's the Italy manager at the moment, but you know how managers are. They much prefer club football to international because it's week in, week out. And someone like Mancini, I think, could come in and do a really good job for us.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, mate. I absolutely agree. Right, let's move on to this. Starting 11, Tommy, for Brentford tomorrow night. What is your starting 11?
Well, obviously, we start with the keeper. I will be absolutely traumatized if I see Fabianski starting in goal.
Yeah,
tomorrow night. I mean, I've been banging this drum for so long. Why does he keep playing him? I just don't understand it. He's got Alphonse Areola on the bench. Areola every time for me, and it just compounded by that absolute howler against Arsenal. I mean, you should, any keeper who's I think like a Conference League keeper saves that. You know, that
it's embarrassing, mate.
Decent keeper has got to be stopping that shot. That was really poor. And also, he doesn't command the area very well. I'm always worried whenever a cross comes in if Fabianski shows any interest whatsoever in it. And, he doesn't. He doesn't fill me with any confidence in the way he commands the area. So Alphonse Areola. I mean, just to stick on that, James. I mean, I'd be shocked. I mean, like, what does someone have to do to get dropped, James, when Moyes likes him? Because
it's a stubborn approach.
When Souček's been poor for how long now and still won't drop him? Bowen, when he was absolutely horrible at the start of the season, wouldn't drop him. And now you watch fucking Fabianski start tomorrow night.
What it is, Lucas, who comes on this channel, who's like a regular on this channel, he sums it up brilliantly. It's like a mafia boss, David Moyes. Once you're in the mafia with him, you're in it for life, and you're his favourite. You're his number one sort of thing, and he's got his favourites. I called this about 9 months ago. I said Moyes has got his favourites at this club, and he won't drop anyone. Like, they could have absolute howlers, and he just will not drop anyone. Like, Souček's had bad performances quite a lot this year, right? And I don't know why he's still in the team, but I really don't. But Fabianski, I do agree with you. Experienced goalkeeper, getting done on his near post, schoolboy error. And that ain't the first time. It was Chelsea away. He done the same thing again. And 1-0 up. He makes a howler. Then we collapse. And it's been a few times. I'm not going to go really all in on Fab, because there is some games this year where he has kept us in the game. Like, I remember a few games this year. I think it was Liverpool. He absolutely kept us in that game. Like, even though we lost the game 1-0, we was in the game for a long time, and it was because of him and a few other games and all. Even Southampton away, I remember that, clear as day. In the first half, he was literally brilliant. So I ain't going to go fully in on him, but I do think a change is needed. Someone said it the other day, 120,000 a week, Areola's on, and he's sitting on our bench. That's just mad. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. I would go Areola for that. Left back for you.
I tell you what, I still think Cresswell. I still think he's the best option that we have at left back. I would much prefer that we had a better option there, but at the moment, Cresswell is the best, and he has not been one of our worst players this season. By the way, Cresswell.
No.
I think he's been doing okay this season. He hasn't been really terrible, I think, in any games really.
He's been okay.
Great player, he's fine, but I think unfortunately at the moment he's still our best option over there. I still think a better option as an orthodox fullback than Emerson is.
Yeah, I agree. So that's left back. Right back for you, Tommy.
Right back again, pretty much the same situation. I think we still have to kind of go with Safal at the moment. I think Kerr hasn't been great out on the right.
Would you go Ben Johnson?
Yeah, look, if I saw Ben Johnson starting there, I'd be fine with that. I think he's good defensively. He's a good young player. I think Safal has kind of improved a little bit. I think he's showing some signs that maybe he's getting some form back. And again, I didn't think he was one of our worst players against Arsenal. I have to say, he did okay. I don't blame him for that goal, by the way. I think he did the right thing in showing Martinelli outside and tightening the angle as much as he could. He was never stopping him getting the shot off, but he at least forced him outside, forced a difficult angle. But like I say, if it was Johnson, absolutely no problem. You could flip a coin, really. I think it's a flip of a coin.
Yeah. For me, I would go. I think I would go Ben just for the energy. I think he's more better, like the energy factor, the pace. Going forward, he's not all that, but defending, I think he's all right. So I'll go Johnson. Right, centre halves is an interesting one because we've only got a few now. People don't want to see Kerr in this team, which I understand it. I really do. I think Kerr is better as a right back. He's naturally a right back, and we've got to understand he is a right back. He's not a centre half, right? He's just been shoehorned into that position. So I think we need a Guerd in this team now. We need that man back. Right? If we set up with a Kehrer and Dawson, then I think we're going to be in trouble again. If Guerd is back, like Kane says here, right? Is Guerd back? I really do hope he is, mate. I think West Ham need to push this man to get into this team, and even if he plays an hour, that'll do. You know what I mean? Just get him in this team. What do you reckon, Tommy, on the centre half?
Kehrer is not injured. He's not injured. He was due to play against Croatia in the third place playoff at the World Cup, but he just got ill. He fell sick, so they pulled him from the game. He was fit to play in that game, so he's fit. But Moyes said he lost a little bit of weight because of his illness and stuff. And he may not be fully match fit, but I think he played enough in the World Cup that, like you say, you could get 65, 70 minutes out of him. So I would absolutely play Aguerd in this game as well. I think he's good to go.
Yeah. If I see someone the other day say about Bonner and Dawson, is that an option for you? No Kehrer.
If Aguerd couldn't go, couldn't play, then I would play Oggy as the left-sided centre back, and Dawson as the right-sided centre back in this one. I think,
Yeah. Listen, I agree. I think Kehrer's a bit of a nightmare at the minute. He's having an absolute nightmare, big time, and it's such a shame. I really did have high hopes for him, and he's been poor. He has been poor. Midfield time. Obviously, Declan's going to play, so we could sort of scrub that one out. Souček, Tommy, do you start him again, or do you replace him?
No, he's getting benched in my team. His form's been horrible. He misplaces far too many passes.
I agree.
And a player who's sitting that deep and misplacing passes is a massive liability. And his form's been poor for a long time now, so he's got to be benched. He should have been benched a long time ago. I would go 3 in midfield because I think it's absolutely vital for us that we win the midfield battle in this game.
Yeah,
We've
I
got
agree.
to get a chokehold on that midfield. So I would go with 3 in there.
Who's your 3?
So my 3 are the same as you, I suspect, is Rice, Paqueta, and Fornals.
I would go with that. Even though I do like Flynn Downs. I think I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think we need Fornals in this team. I do. Like, I'm looking at the team. I'm looking at how light it is. There's not a lot of energy in there. And I don't want to see Fornals on the left side of a 4, that for a 4-2-3-1. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't make no sense, like, to me.
Yeah.
So in a 3-man midfield, Fornals for me would be perfect in there. Runs about, passes the ball from deep, good pass of the ball. In Paqueta could work well together, I think. Yeah, it's no brainer for me.
I think, like I said, the 3 of them in midfield can get hold of the ball.
Yeah.
There's less of a chance of us coughing up possession all the time.
Yeah.
They're all good. They're all good on the ball. They're good passers.
And one thing with Fornals, he's a good presser.
Yeah.
One thing like West Ham's press at the minute is fucking shambolical, really, if I'm being honest. But yeah, he's a good presser of the ball. Someone just said it in the chat there. I can't remember who just said it. I think it was Richard. Fornals at 10 and Rice and Paqueta. I will go with that all day long.
In a 4-2-3-1, that's the way I would go to. Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah. So
just
obviously,
that extra body in midfield up for this one. We have to win the midfield battle in this game.
Totally agree with you, mate. Totally agree. Who's your 3-man attack then for you?
It's going to be. I think Bowen has shown signs of life. I thought first half, particularly against Arsenal, I thought he really caused them some problems. So I'd stick with Fornals. Earlier in the season, I would have been dropping him.
Yeah.
But I tell you, if his form wasn't like picking up the way it was, I would play Antonio out on the right-hand side. I think he could cause severe problems. He's really good out there. He's very direct. He drives at the box. But Bowen, I thought against Arsenal, first half did some really good stuff. So I think I'd stick with Benny, Bowen, and Scamacca.
I agree. I absolutely agree on that front three. I think Scamacca needs to play because I think we need Scamacca, Paqueta in this team together. That's the first thing, because I think when they are together, West Ham are a bit of a different team.
Yeah, and I think with Fornals in there as well, I think Fornals could be good for Scamacca.
Yeah. I think a lot of I want Scamacca just to stay central, not keep dropping deep all the time. Because sometimes I look at him and I think he drops too deep. He needs to be sort of 18-yard box striker. Listen, he was trained, and I've said this numerous times on this channel, he was trained by the best in like Ruud van Nistelrooy as being a top quality 18-yard box striker. I want him in the 18-yard box. I don't want him dropping deep and being 30 yards out. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, that would be the team for me, really, if we're going to do anything. Do I think Moyes will do that? I don't think he changes anyone, if I'm being honest. I think he goes with the same goalkeeper, same probably back line if no one's fit. Souček will play. And do you know what? It would not surprise me if he takes Benny out and he goes with Fornals. That would not surprise me on the left-hand side.
Imagine he starts Fabianski, starts Souček, and drops Benny and puts Fornals on the left wing again.
It would not. It would not surprise me at all. But that's
wouldn't surprise anyone. That'd be a shocking decision.
That would be. It's just him. But we'll move on to final topic of conversation. Is this predictions time, Tommy? You said it the other day. West Ham would lose. What are you saying today?
I'm saying we lose again. I really do think Moyes is a one-trick pony. I think Fabianski will start. I think Souček will start. We'll see largely the same team. We might see Scamacca potentially, although not necessarily. Hopefully he'll start, but at worst I think he'll be on the bench. Moyes doesn't like really risking players, does he? So I think we might not even see Aguerd. So it's going to be either Oggy or Kerr again at centre back alongside Dawson. He'll play Cresswell. He'll play Safal. He'll do the predictable thing that he always does. Probably be a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. But it'll be. I just have no faith at this point that Moyes can outthink Thomas Frank. I think Thomas Frank's got his number. Brentford are so well set up under Thomas Frank, and they carry a real threat going forward. We saw that against Tottenham. what they did to Tottenham to go 2-0 up, they can do to us. And unlike Tottenham, I don't think we've got the minerals to get back into a game that we're a couple of goals down in. I think the heads will drop. Moyes won't make any substitutions. We went 3-1 down against Arsenal, where you're at the point where we say, fuck it, we have to get after this now and see if we can salvage something from this. He did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. So, I just have no faith in Moyes. Frankly, I don't think the players do either. Like, I don't think the players have gone tools. I don't think there's any mutiny. But I see in the body language of the players a team that have no self-belief left, that have no confidence left, that have no belief in what the manager's doing anymore. And that's a really, really bad sign. It's very, very hard to win games with that kind of mindset. They look like a beaten team when they go out on the pitch that just has no confidence or self-belief in anything that they're doing with Moyes. And for me, that in itself is enough reason to change the manager.
I agree. What's your score prediction, Tommy?
I do think we'll score. And I think it will be a closer game than the Arsenal one, mainly because Brentford aren't as good as Arsenal and we're at home. So I think it'll be 2-1 to Brentford.
2-1 to Brentford. Right, let's give my prediction. First of all, I don't think there's going to be a lot of fans there tomorrow, from what I gather. There's a lot of train strikes. There's a lot of rail replacement bus services, and I think a lot of people have said enough of the way West Ham are playing. So don't be surprised if there's a lot of empty seats at the ground. That's the first thing. Tomorrow night's game, I feel if West Ham go 1-0 down, it becomes unbearable in there. It really will be. I think the fans have had enough of the situation, of what's going on. We're not playing good football. We're looking like a relegation threatened side. And it's just poor. Brentford, if Ivan Toney turns up, he could destroy us tomorrow. He seems to play well against West Ham every single time he plays against us. So I do fear him. I think we've got to put in a performance of above all performances tomorrow night if we're going to get something out of this game. I actually do think tomorrow we get a draw. I think we draw the game. I think all of us will be sitting here tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, going, well, where do we go from here, sort of thing. And I think it just leaves us in limbo. I think if we lose the game and we lose heavily, I think the board will have to really have a pair of bollocks on them and make a decision and say, well, we'll either get rid of him now or you're back in January and just give him some money and try and sort this out. So I'm going to go for a 1-0, and that's me being sort of not very confident. I do feel we need to score first in this game, though. So I think if we go 1-0 down, then I think we're in trouble. And if Brentford are going to play on the counter, that's one thing that, and they are very, very good at it away from home. They play on the counter, and they're a decent side. So I'm going to go 1-0. Tommy, anything else that you want to discuss before we go?
I just want to. Do you really believe Moyes thinks he can actually keep Declan Rice, or is he that deluded? He keeps coming out with these statements like, "Oh, we're going to fight to keep him. We're going to do this. We'll do that. We're going to." It's like, what? What do you want? Does he even believe the shit that comes out of his own mouth? Like, he can't possibly think we're keeping Declan beyond this season.
Nah. I'll tell you what, you bringing up Declan Rice is quite a good subject to talk about. Because I see a lot of fans digging out Dec. Now, some people saying he shouldn't be captain of the side. He's the best player in the team, right? For me, he's the best player in the team. And I look at him, and sometimes I do look at him and think, when you've got players next to you who are not performing, it makes your performances look bad. Do you know what I mean? Because he's trying to do everything. I don't know what Dave's really thinking, really, in worrying about Declan, because I don't think he'd be here to see Declan anymore if he carries on going the way he's going.
I think if we lose to Brentford, it's like, I'd love someone just to say to him, "All right, David, now are we in a relegation battle? Now are we? Like, at what point, like, do you stop bullshitting fans? Do you know what I mean? Talking about we're not in a relegation. Declan Rice, didn't he describe this as a blip?
Yeah, I wish I can't.
Really? Because I tweeted it. Come on, mate. I mean, even if we only take this season, fucking 16-game blip.
It's not. I think I retweeted it and I turned around and said, "This is not a blip. This is a problem." Right?
Yeah.
This is becoming a problem now. A blip is what 5, maybe 8 games without a win.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a blip. Yeah. But not a whole calendar year. Like the calendar year is like the best way of summing this up, and I do this all the time when I've discussed this. I've turned around and said that if you go back to January last year when we played Kidderminster, it seemed like, and you just go through all the games from January this year, all the way through to the summer when we was in the sort of friendlies, and the friendlies were poor. Like we was just getting by, and then we got beat up and smashed to bits against Rangers. And then people would moan and say it's just for fitness. It's fitness reasons. Don't worry about the friendlies. Look what happened when we qualified for Europe. We didn't win a game in friendlies, and we qualified for Europe. And I'm thinking, okay, fair enough. And then this season, some of the games that we've lost, we've been awful in. And I don't know Firstly, I don't understand why Moyes is still here. But the more it goes on, the more I look at it and I think, from a financial point of view, they ain't going to get rid of him because he's a cheap manager, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, first of all, they'd have to pay out his contract and his staff, and then obviously they'd have to start paying the new manager that comes in. So in an ideal world, they don't want to be put in a position where they have to sack him. But I think he's going to force their hand over the next few games. I think they're going to come to a point where they panic and think, okay, we really, really could get relegated. If we are halfway through the season, say 19 games played, if we lose to Brentford, maybe get a draw somewhere even, lose Leeds game as well or something. If we're still down there looking over our shoulder or we're in the relegation zone, I think they will kind of panic a bit and think, well, balls. Even though they don't want to, I think at some point they'll probably have to do it.
Do you think we're in a relegation battle?
The scenario, of course, is that he just kind of treads water for the rest of the season. Do you know because look, as bad as we're playing, and as badly as Moyes is managing the team, we have good enough players that we're going to beat somebody sometime, right? At some point, we'll beat someone. We could go to Leeds and shithouse a 1-0 win, right? And that's 3 points, and then that'll be just enough for the board to hang on a little bit longer. And then we lose a couple of games, and then we'll nick another win somewhere, and then that 3 points will just keeping us afloat, and they'll just keep sticking with it. So it could be a case that he just treads water for the rest of the season.
Do you think we're in a relegation battle?
Yeah, we are.
Nah, yeah,
right
I
now
agree.
we're in a relegation battle. The table does not lie. This is not like usually you'll say, okay, the first 10 games, you'd like to start really well and be up the table after 10 games. But if you're not, it's a worry, but it's not a disaster because, there's still a lot of games left. So, you can recover from a poor start. And teams often have recovered from a poor start and they've had a brilliant second half to a season and recovered their position or whatever. But I think, 16 games in, the way we're playing, we've won 6 of them. I think we've won 11 this calendar year. It's horrific stuff.
This season, we've only won 4 games in the Prem. This seasson.
4 Prem.
Wolves,
Wolves,
Fulham, Bournemouth, and who's the other one? Wolves, Fulham, Bournemouth, and there's someone else in there. I can't remember. Oh, Villa away.
Villa away.
1-0, and we shit house that. It was awful. Do you know what I mean?
That first half. Remember he went 3 centre backs in that game and wing backs, and the first half was an absolute disaster. It was horrifically bad, and he had to change the formation at half time. And he brought a couple of subs on at the break. But we were absolutely in a relegation battle. I've seen nothing to suggest that there's a turnaround coming or a swing in form, or that we're going to go on, a run where we win, 4 of our next 7 or something like that. I just don't see any evidence that that's likely. We look bad every week.
Yeah.
So I can only assume that will continue.
I've got to answer this comment because I like Kane. Right, he comes on the spaces with me. He has a good laugh. I must admit, he's all right. He's a good kid. We're better than Everton, Southampton, Forest, Bournemouth. Zuma and Aguirre bringing him back. I think he's saying like getting back and playing together makes me not be concerned about relegation yet.
I don't disagree. Really,
yeah. One thing I will say that I will agree with Kane on, and a few of the others who have said this. They've turned around and said Moyes has been very, very unlucky with injuries in his defence. Like when you look at the defence is literally a makeshift defence, right? But the problem is with that, he's got to make use of what he's got. Do you know what I mean? Like if he goes and loses Declan Rice or let's say Cresswell, he's going to have to work with what he's got. That's why he's paid the money he's paid to. Do you know what I mean? Make the big decisions. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look. First of all, every manager is going to have to deal with some injuries. Our problems run far deeper than the fact we've been missing. You know, we had Zuma right up to the World Cup break. He only missed the Arsenal game.
Yeah,
we haven't been that decimated. And our problems run far deeper than that. That is not our only issue. Is not that we concede too many goals. That's not, it's not like, if we can just shore up the defense, we'll start winning loads of games. There's a lot more wrong at this club at the moment than just that.
I think it's the personnel he picks and all.
And number two, why would you say we're better than Southampton and we're better than who else did he say? We're better than Bournemouth. On paper, maybe. Yeah, we're better than Everton, Southampton, Forest, Bournemouth. Are we really? Look at the table. We're right down there with them. Why would you say we're better than them? We might have a better squad than all of them.
I would definitely say we're better than Forest. I think Forest are crap.
But we're not a better team than them.
No.
Not right now. We are right there in it with all of those teams, in the thick of it, trying to avoid relegation and get away from the bottom half of the table. Don't get fucking cocky. With the players we've got, it's there's more to winning games of football than having the players. The manager's got to be doing his job. We've got to be set up right, and we're not at the moment. And so right now we are not. We've won 4 games out of 16. We cannot sit here and say to Southampton and Everton and them, we're better than you. Right now we're fucking not better than them.
I think the next 5 games. I think the next 5 games are. Well, next 4 games, I'm not really worried about the Brentford FA Cup game. If I'm being honest, I really couldn't care less. The next 4 Premier League games for me will decide where we're going. I think like Brentford, Leeds, Wolves, Everton. They are massive games. And I actually think we need at least 2 wins out of them 4. You know what I mean? So if we don't get more than 2 wins out of them 4, I think we're in trouble, mate. I really do.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is. These next 4 games now are really like shit or burst. Burst. If Moyes is going to turn this thing around, I don't believe he will. But if he's going to, he has to do it in these next 4 games, because if he can't get a nice few points out of these next few games, then who are we going to beat?
Do you know what? And I agree with the usual suspects who comes on here. Too many backroom staff leaving. Something is definitely not right behind the scenes. I totally agree on that comment. People paper over it, but this started really from last December. And I'll tell you the game that started really, the downward spiral, was the Arsenal game last year. Arsenal in December last year. We had just beaten Chelsea. We play Arsenal in the middle of December last year, and we get absolutely pumped. 2-0. Cafal gets sent off. And after that, we lose against Southampton. We lose against Spurs in the Cup. And it's just a downward spiral since then. And it's continued for the last 12 months. And to sort of round it up the show, I look at it like this. I think a lot of fans are never seen it so good at West Ham, Tommy, that they can't let go of what Moyes, like David Moyes. They can't let go of him because they don't want to. They've never seen it so good. Whereas, let's be honest, me and you have probably seen it. Like, this is the best I've seen West Ham for a long, long time. Probably going back to sort of the early 2000s.
15-16 was really good.
15-16 was good. It was like a one season wonder, though, wasn't it? Let's be honest. Like when you look at the players that we had, sort of in the early 2000s, like the talent that we had. And I know we didn't never look like winning anything, or we didn't qualify for Europe, even though we did win the Intertoto Cup, which we should appreciate now. I think some fans just can't let go of the fact he's here, and if they lose him, West Ham go backwards. But what they're not understanding is West Ham are going backwards now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I had someone reply to me in a comment on Twitter to saying, we're in a relegation scrap, but why sack David Moyes? Because what manager would you want in a relegation scrap? David Moyes. It's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between a manager who's taken you into a relegation scrap and a manager who's coming in fresh to try and get you out of one. Moyes can be good coming into that situation, but I don't believe he's going to get us out of the situation when he's brought us into it. He's too stubborn to change it.
I think West Ham are more of an attractive asset now than they would be 10 games' time. I think in 10 games' time, if West Ham are fighting to stay in the Premier League, we would probably end up with either a Warburton, a Parker, or a Dyche, someone like that. I think right now, if you was to get rid of him now, I think you could maybe attract someone better than them, who I've just mentioned.
Yeah, that's why I think we actually really, the board really fucked up in not sacking him before the World Cup. You know, if we'd have sacked him that early in the season, any manager looking at it could have said, yeah, I can absolutely 100% on getting that team top 10. You know, managers have egos. Do you know what I mean? They believe they can come in and do a right job, you know, do a great job. And any manager looking at our squad at that time would have said, yeah, I can absolutely win the Conference League with that team, and I can get them inside the top 10, possibly European place again. But like you say, the longer we leave it, the more that manager is looking at thinking, how many games have I got?
Yeah.
I like to save this team, you know, and it gets more and more precarious.
It is. As I say, I'm deeply concerned, and I cannot wait till 11:59 on New Year's Eve, when that Big Ben hits 12, that we go into 2023 and West Ham change into the team that they once were. Because I think this year's been an absolute shambles, really. In Europe, we've done very, very well, right? And we can all look back on them games, Seville and even Lyon, and go, wow, what amazing games, amazing times. Do you know what I'm saying? But in the Premier League, for me, it's just been, like you said earlier on in this stream, it's been papering over the cracks for a long, long time. Them games paper over how West Ham are actually playing, and also other teams playing so badly papered over how West Ham were playing also. So yeah, I do agree.
Just to answer that question from NS Sports TV, that Chelsea fan there, I'd take Unai Emery in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he's sadly gone to Villa. He's at Villa now, and
I think he'll do a good job for Villa.
Right. Any questions? Fire them into Tommy before I round this up. Anything you like, fire it in and get Tommy's opinion. I'll go for another 5 minutes, and then we will wrap it up.
What could end up happening, James, is, you know, if the board leave it long enough and then have to sack him, they could end up having to use an interim manager until the end of the season, someone like Warburton.
It's on the cards, mate. It's on the card. It's just the West Ham way, right? The best way of summing it up is just the West Ham way to sort of get rid of him. They will not promote Mark Noble. So anyone who thinks Mark Noble's going to come down from the sporting manager or director or whatever it is, down and be temporary manager, I can't see that happening. So it'd be Warburton. Peter says, "Do you feed your cat?"
I feed her too much. She's a chubby bastard. She is.
Tommy's cat looks well fed. It's more about the cat than it is about West Ham.
Fucking cat eats better than I do.
It's not as simple issue as individual positions anymore. We ain't clicking as a team. I agree on that. I see something the other day, Tommy. Yeah, and I think a lot of the players have down tools for him.
No, I said that earlier. I don't think they're down tools. I don't think there's any kind of player revolt. I think it's just a lack of confidence mixed with a lack of belief in the manager. I think they still go out and they still try to win games. I think they still try to do their job. So I don't think they've down tools. I really don't. There's no mutiny here, I don't believe. I haven't seen any evidence. Even Benny, and he fucking hates Moyes, let's be honest. I mean, Benny comes in and he really tries. He really plays hard and he tries.
He's the only one. He's the only one who's trying to save his job for him, which is
which is ironic, yeah. But no, I think the players. I didn't see players like a lack of effort against Arsenal. I didn't feel like the players weren't trying or that they didn't care. I think they do care. I think they are trying. I just think it's a mixture of lack of confidence, which is understandable given the results we've been having in performances, allied, I think, with a lack of belief in the manager now because they know they're getting sent out every week to do the same thing and nothing's changing.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're playing a certain way in a certain style and you're losing every week and the manager keeps sending you out to do the same thing, where is that fucking stupid? It's not us fans. Do you think it's only us fans that notice? The players know. The players know it.
And that's the one thing I'll say, on this channel. You can't lie to the fans. The fans, you never pull the wool over the fans' eyes. Some of them you might, but the vast majority of them know what they're talking about.
Yeah, but I don't think the manager can pull the wool over players' eyes either. I don't think they believe in what they're doing anymore, and I think that's reflected in the performances. I know people criticize Rice a lot for throwing his hands up, and he wants to pull his hair out. You can see it because I think he's incredibly frustrated, and I think all the players are incredibly frustrated because they don't want to go out and lose games. I think the players are absolutely fed up, and so you can see it on the pitch. It's just they need change. They need a new voice on the training ground, in the dressing room, a new direction, a new style of play, a new way of doing things. And I think then you'll really see that bounce in the players' steps. And I think you'll see that kind of will come back to win and that kind of bit of self-belief and that, something new, that hopefully now this is going to be better. And why the board haven't done that, I don't know. I think it's criminal.
Should we not learn from Leicester keeping Rodgers instead of sacking him?
Learn what? They just got pumped.
And I think to answer that question from me, their game against Nottingham Forest when they smashed Nottingham Forest was the worst game for them. Because if they would have lost that game or they would have lost another game, I think Rodgers wouldn't be there. I think once they won that game, it gave Rodgers time. I think
go back and watch their game at the weekend.
Yeah, the game was terrible. Here's a question for you, Tommy. Do you seriously think by training at the London Stadium anything will stop the rot? Like no. West Ham were training at the London Stadium the other day. I don't understand that one. Maybe
it's a pointless exercise. It won't make a blind bit of difference to anything.
Right, we'll see them over there. What else we got here? Do you think Moyes didn't praise his players enough when we were playing well as part of the winning mentality to the point that players don't really care about earning praise by performing well?
No, I don't think. When a team's playing well and winning games, I think that's enough for players. I'm sure they get the pats on the back, from the manager at the end of the 90 minutes, and I'm sure he gives them a pat on the back in the dressing room after and says, "Well done. Excellent performance, lads. Great win." But when you're winning games, you feel good. You don't particularly need when managers earn their crust is when things go wrong.
Yeah.
That's when you've got to show the real leadership and the willingness to make the changes that are necessary. To say, put your arms around the players who need their arms put round and kick the players up the arse who need to kick up the arse. You need to have that ability to kind of connect with players and know what they need and know how to change things up when it's necessary. So when things are going well, I don't think that's really. I don't think you need to blow sunshine up players' arses all the time. They know they're playing well. They know they're winning games. They feel good. They're happy. It's easy to be a manager when things are going really well. when you're on a roll. Players are happy, you're happy, staff are happy, fans are happy, board are happy. It's when the arse falls out of it, and you start to get on a really bad run of form. That's when you really earn your crust, and that's when you need to know how to deal with the players, like, mentally.
Here's a question from Pipeless. Another person I like in my subscribers, Pipeless as well. Why are we not running anymore? Like the press. One thing I will say, the press on West Ham last year to the press this year is night and day. It's absolutely shocking. Like it seems like we run out of steam so easily. Like we start games very, very slow, and then we work into the game. Or we start the game fast, and then we run out of steam towards the end of the game. I don't know what's going on. What do you think of that comment, Tommy? Why we're not running anymore?
Yeah, we touched on this earlier in the stream. I don't know if Pipeless was watching at that time, but I honestly don't know. It's a mystery, because it was one of the things that Moyes insisted on when he arrived. If you don't run, you don't play. So why we've had this massive drop-off in ground covered is a mystery to me. I don't quite know the answer, to be honest. We can observe it and we can see the stats, and we're one of the worst teams in the league in our running stats and ground covered and closing down and stuff. I can't explain it. It's the same way I can't explain why we don't score from set pieces anymore.
I think the set pieces, for me, like, we haven't scored. Well, I think we've scored 2 goals this season. I might be wrong, but from set pieces. One of them was against Bournemouth when Kira volleyed it with his hands onto Zuma, and that was a goal. And the other one was Antonio's goal against Chelsea, where the ball come in. I think it scrambled around in the box, and like he scored it from about 4 yards out. It's a mystery. I do think, and someone said it earlier on in the chat, and sorry if I can't remember who said it, I think something's happened behind the scenes where a lot of the players don't really give it as 100% as some of the others. I won't say they're all down tools. I agree with you on that, Tommy. But I think some of the players, like Flynn Downs, for instance, would run through brick walls for every West Ham fan because he's a West Ham boy. He loves West Ham. And for some reason, he can't even get on the pitch, like, at all. And I look at him, and I look at Souček, or you can look at Fornals, and you can look at Souček. Why is Souček playing? Like, do you know what I mean? And we all know as fans there's a problem there. Like the other day, 8 complete passes. That is terrible. That's embarrassing. Do you know what I mean? I think it was 8 out of 19 passes that he tried. He got 8 right. Now, that's not good. That's not good. And we've all known that since the summer. Like, I remember doing the spaces on Twitter. I spoke to loads and loads of people from all different parts of the world, like Australia, America, Ireland, England, you name it, everywhere. And everyone sort of come up with the same thing over and over again, that basically Souček needs to come out. We either have to go and get a Ward-Prowse or a Fofana from France. Unana was mentioned before he went to Everton. There were so many players that we needed to go and get. And one of them, the player that's been a problem in the midfield, is still playing every single game, which for me is like, that's a sackable offence in itself, in my opinion.
It's bizarre. I mean, the whole world sees it, but apparently not David Moyes. It's like the one person. You wonder about his coaching staff. It's like, has any one of them said to him, look, Souček's really poor. His form is terrible, and he's giving the ball away all the time. And, as a deep-lying player, to keep giving the ball away is dangerous because all of a sudden, he gives the ball away in our own final third, and they're on the edge of the box immediately. And it's like, and it keeps happening. Like you said, he completed 8 passes out of 19 attempted passes against Arsenal. I mean, it's bad enough that, they're a better team than us and they were trying to defend for our lives a lot as it is. But then to have one of your players constantly giving them the ball back, and this is something we knew before the game ever kicked off. Yeah. And like you say, you watch Moyes will fucking play Souček against Brentford and he'll keep giving the ball back to them as well.
Do you know what? Peter brings up a valid point, right? 'Cause I was letting you finish your what you had to say. When he talks about Lingard, like that Lingard saga in the summer was embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. Like we was like all hoping that Lingard was going to sign for us when Moyes should have just put his deadline down, said to him, "No, that's enough. You're not bigger than us," right? And been a bit of a have a bit of backbone. I think he was too soft in the way he handled that sort of situation. And let's be honest, in the end, it worked out well because we only got Paqueta, but we was lucky to get Paqueta. I think, in a way.
It's like it's like if you've got a mate who's like obsessed with this girl and she's got no interest, but he keeps chasing her and he keeps trying to like woo her and win her over. And,
it's like one day it's going to happen.
It's like, mate, just look, you stop doing this to yourself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like she's not interested, mate. Just move on, find a nice girl. There's plenty of girls out there. Just you meet someone nice. She's not interested, all right? Yes, she's very pretty, but she's not interested. Okay, just move on, mate. And he's like, no. I'll persuade her. I'll win her over. I'll go, mate, you won't. Just stop. And it was embarrassing. It was just like Moyes, just fucking hell. Like Lingard should have signed for us the previous summer.
Yeah, he did.
Given how he'd played, he was having a great time at West Ham that second half of the season. And I mean, scoring goals, getting assists, playing great stuff. He got himself back in the England squad.
And West Ham were playing well. Also, like with him in the team, that was the best I've ever seen West Ham play. In that season, that 6 months when Lingard arrived, it's the best I've seen West Ham play for a long time.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And then I think once he decided to stay at United the following season, that should have been it.
Yeah, we should let it go.
Even if you do go back to him at the end of the following season, as we did last summer, I mean, it should literally be an immediate yes or no. We want to get you in at West Ham. Here's the package. Take a few days, come back to us with a yes or no. If it's a no, okay, fine, we move on.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to get to this comment here, Tommy, from Peter. Yeah, it says, not getting Lingard led to all the panic buying and all the wrong types of players. I do agree with Peter on that because when I look at Paqueta, I like Paqueta to a point. But I feel with Paqueta, he's a good player, but he's just not playing well for West Ham at the minute. Some people say it's the position, it's the way he's being played. Okay, I can sort of give him time because he's just arrived. Yeah, and you look at him in the World Cup, and it's night and day. He was quite decent for Brazil, but it does help when you've got good players around you. Do you know what I mean? If you've got some players who are not very good at West Ham in certain positions, you're going to look bad. Do you reckon?
I think it led directly. I think we maybe would have signed Paqueta anyway, different player, different position, but I think it led to the Cornet signing. And that's turning into a little bit of a fucking mare at the moment. Now maybe it'll still come good. We'll see when he gets back. Supposedly mid-January he'll be good to go, and we'll see how he goes the rest of the season. And maybe the rest of this season he'll be available. Maybe next season he'll be largely available, and it'll all work out because I do think there's a real player in there in Cornet. But at the moment, you'd be a bit worried about the Cornet signing. That looks like it could be 17 wasted millions.
Yeah, it is, mate. It really is. We'll wrap it up there, Tommy. I want to thank you for coming on, mate. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome, James. Cheers for having me on, mate.
No worries at all, mate. No worries anytime. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please do smash a like on the video. It goes a long way. And if you're new around here, please do subscribe to the channel. That also helps greatly. Tomorrow's going to be... I don't know where it's going to be, but all I want to see, I will take a 1-0 90th minute winner. That's what I will take right now. Scrappy game, I don't care. I just think West Ham need a W next to their name instead of keep having L's all the time. Do you know what I'm saying? So, please do perform tomorrow night, West Ham. Will they? We will find out.
But that's the thing, James. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I want Moyes out, I've never sat down for a West Ham game and wanted us to lose it, ever. The Arsenal game, even though I think he should have been sacked, the Arsenal game, I was roaring us on. I was cheering. I was really I roared when we got the penalty and Benny tucked it away. I was absolutely delighted, that we were 1-0 up there. And I'll be the same tomorrow against Brentford. As much as I don't believe he'll turn it around, as much as I want him sacked, I'm still going to sit down for that Brentford game, and I'm going to roar the team on, shout the team on the same way I always do. I really want us to win it. I really would love us to come out and put in a really good performance and win that game.
Yeah, and that's so do I, mate. And so does everyone else. I think what it is, I think it's just got to a stage now where we just need something to fall for us. And if it does, then great. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. After thought tomorrow night, 10:10. I will do it. Be there. If West Ham win, it'll be all vibes will be good. West Ham lose, there'll be all vibes will be negative. I'm afraid, but we will see you there.
Our game's not on live, is it?
It'll be live somewhere. It'll be live somewhere, Tommy. It'll be live somewhere. Anyway, from me, from Tommy, take care and all the best, man.
There it is. I've never found a love like this.